Power Rangers in Space is the best season of Power Rangers. If not, it's one of the best seasons of Power Rangers. Look, I know a lot of people are nostalgic for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because it's the first and therefore it's automatically the best to some people. Mighty Morphin walked so In Space could run towards that finish line. This season was planned to be the big finale for the Power Rangers franchise, but In Space ended up saving the franchise so it would continue on for many more years to come. And the finale for Power Rangers In Space is amazing. It hits all the emotions from its fight scenes to its character moments, but there's always been one question lingering on my mind whenever I go back and I watch Countdown to Destruction. Wherever that's gathering clips or I just want to throw the episode on as background noise, there's one question I always think about when I rewatch that episode. Where was the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers team when the universe was being conquered and several people they knew were getting their asses handed to them and they were nowhere to be seen? I mean, Zordon was captured and somehow they didn't know about that either. And in this video, we're going to try and break down and figure out where was the original Rangers during Countdown to Destruction. Alright, so let's start with Jason. Jason Lee Scott, the original Red Ranger. So we saw Jason in the Turbo movie along with Kimberly, but after the movie, we didn't see Jason until Wild Force. Now it's hinted at during that time he went off the grid and probably found himself in some trouble here and there, so you could assume that maybe he went off the radar and went off the grid so he became a little bit hard to get in contact with. That's why no one knew where he was. I mean, after Wild Force, we didn't really see Jason until Beast Morphers, where we didn't see an on-screen appearance of Jason until Beast Morphers Unmorphed. I mean, he was there in the legendary battle and stuff like that, but to see Jason in the flesh, well, we didn't see that until Beast Morphers, and still, we had no idea what he was up to during that time, and that was kind of one of the big mysteries. I'm guessing he probably just settled down and lived a normal life, possibly. No idea if he was still doing ranger duties in between that time, but I'm guessing that because he went off and did his own thing after Power Rangers Zeo, he probably became a little bit hard to get in contact with since then. Okay, now let's talk about Zach. So Zach at the time was probably still dealing with the peace conference, but seeing how in Once and Always, Zach stepped away from being a member of Congress to raise Min with Billy, you could assume that during this time, Zach would have probably been in college by now because at the start of Turbo, you had a lot of the older characters graduating high school and moving into college. So probably around this time during Power Rangers in Space, Zach would still probably be taking the same steps to sort of work his way into college, get into college, and he'd probably start studying to be a member of Congress as he got into stuff like politics and stuff like that. So maybe just like Jason, Zach was probably a little bit harder to get in contact with because he was focusing on his career for Congress and other things. Alright, Trini. Trini is an interesting one because you could assume, much like Zach, she would be busy with the peace conference, and much like all the other Rangers from the original team, she would have been in college around that time, so maybe she stepped away from the Ranger life as well. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be bringing up Min. Now, Min is a teenager in Once and Always. Now, we don't know Min's exact age in Once and Always, we just know that she's a teenager with attitude, much like the original Rangers. But I can assume that Min was probably born around the time of Dino Thunder or Operation Overdrive. I want to say maybe Operation Overdrive, probably around 2007, 2008, around that timeline, is when she was probably born. And then Trini began raising her. That's like my big speculation. But hard to say where Trini would be at the time of Countdown to Destruction. One could assume that she was probably just off doing other things or busy with life, or she couldn't really attend to her ranger duties, so it's really hard to say. Kimberly. So Kimberly was most likely done with the ranger life. She stopped being a ranger so she could focus on her gymnastics, and we haven't really seen her return as a ranger since then. Yes, I know people are going to say Legendary Battle and Once and Always, but although those are returns for the character, we haven't seen a proper return where we see like Amy Jo Johnson return as the role for Kimberly. We've only seen suit-only appearances, and even though Kimberly stopped being a ranger, like so Kat could take the mantle so Kimberly could focus on her gymnastics, but even though she stopped being a ranger, I'm sure that Kimberly would have stepped up during Countdown to Destruction when the Earth was being invaded. Alright, Billy. So Billy is the most interesting one out of all of them when scripting this video. So Billy, we saw him during Zeo go to Aquitar because he had to regain his youth, he had to become young again. We found out that he fell in love with someone from Aquitar, so that's why he stayed behind and didn't return to Earth, and eventually he got married. Now, from the events in Once and Always, we know that Billy eventually returns to Earth and starts up Cranston Tech, where he was actively trying to revive Zordon. So, seeing how he was on Aquitar at the time and Archeo was involved in the battle with Countdown to Destruction along with all the other alien rangers, I'm sure word would have travelled back to Billy about what happened to Zordon. But if Archeo was about to leave for the battle against the Alliance of Evil, would have he told Billy, or was Billy still not at 100% when Countdown to Destruction was happening? And he decided not to tell him, so who really knows? But Billy found out what happened to Zordon after Countdown to Destruction, so he has that knowledge about the events that took place, but I'm sure that if given the opportunity, Billy would have gotten involved in the battle. Alright, now we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy frickin' Oliver. So, during Turbo, or halfway through Turbo, Tommy had already left for college, and during Tommy's time in college, before Dino Thunder, we had found out that Tommy had become a paleontologist, and during this time, if he was in college around in space, then he would have probably possibly already discovered the Dino Gems, he would have probably already met Haley at this point, and we know that Tommy would have stepped up when Countdown to Destruction was going on, no doubt about it. He would have stepped up for frickin' sure if the Earth was being invaded. I mean, he still had access to his Zeo powers, something we saw in Forever Red, so he still had powers readily available to use when possible. No Master Morpher at this point, but he still had his powers. Now, the big question on everyone's mind is this. Could the MMPR team deal with everything that happened in Countdown to Destruction? I'm sure they probably wouldn't have been off-planet like some of the other teams. They would have probably stayed on Earth or close to Angel Grove, no doubt about it. But I can see the Rangers sort of fighting off the Quantrons from Power Rangers in space, and I don't know if they would have been able to deal with a large army of them, because even the in-space team struggled to do that, because that was like a full-scale army invading Earth, and a lot of Rangers from across the universe were struggling with a full-on invasion. So I feel like the MMPR team probably could have held their own for as much as they can, but they probably would have discovered a way to sort of fight them off in the end and sort of get that sort of rally towards them near the end, like we got in the Power Rangers in Space finale where we had that moment. But would the MMPR team make the call to destroy Zordon's tube? I feel like yes and no, because they sort of have more of a sentimental attachment to Zordon, like a father figure, a mentor of course, so I'm sure that the Rangers would have probably made the call to destroy Zordon's tube, but like we find out later on in Once and Always, Billy was trying to find a way to revive Zordon in the end, later down the line, so there's also that. But that's my whole theory, that's all my whole speculation on could the original Mighty Morphin team handle everything going on in Countdown to Destruction, because I feel like they might have been able to hold their own depending on the circumstances. Maybe they could have all gone toe-to-toe with Ecliptor or something like that. That would have been really cool to see. Rangers, like all 5 or all 6 of the Rangers going toe-to-toe with Ecliptor. That would have been really awesome to see in the end. But I'm probably going to make more sort of what-if scenario videos like this later down the line in the nearby future, talking about certain characters here and there, certain scenarios, so definitely look forward to that. But what are your thoughts, what are your theories, what are your speculations on could the Mighty Morphin team handle Countdown to Destruction, and what role do you think they would have played when Countdown to Destruction would have been taking place? Do you think they would have stepped forward, or do you think they'll roll off doing their own things? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions and theories in the comment section down below. So with that said, I will see you guys later. Peace out, take care, and bye.